Here we go again. End of Q1. Wow, that just flashed by, didn't it? That was incredible. We are now back to our normal monthly release cycle after our January and February in one, which means that we have our March release notes for you right here and right now. But before we jump into all of that, of course, I am accompanied by Josephine and my trusty Web Manuals hoodie. And all three of us, we are very happy to be here to give you the release notes. Now, let's jump in and see what we have for you guys. First off, a thing that's been requested quite a lot, and that is our fonts. So not our fonts, but your fonts. So in general, fonts can now be uploaded to the system, meaning that your own corporate fonts can actually be applied to Web Manuals. So all of your documents can use your corporate fonts. Note that this is intended and exclusively for enterprise customers at this point in time. The next one, we have changed the way our operational critical documents are calculated. It means that we can now ensure that if all the documents are downloaded, it will actually be shown correctly in the device manager. Previously, we would also calculate the external documents, which means it's just a link. Links cannot be downloaded and they won't work in offline mode. Hence, the numbering would be a little bit off, but that is now completely fixed. Also, a thing that people have been asking about is abbreviations, because abbreviations can now be created even if the word does not start with an uppercase. So even if you have lowercase at the beginning of the word, as long as you have 2 capital letters in that word, it can actually be abbreviated. So that should help a lot of you out. Speaking of abbreviations, abbreviations can now also contain subscripts or suffix, depending on what you call it, meaning that you can have that little smaller letter and that can actually be in an abbreviation as well. Note that it currently does not support all characters, letters at least. Numbers we have, and about 50% of the letters. Some of them are currently not supported because we didn't have them in good Unicode. Next one, and the last one of the improvements before we jump on to bug fixes, creating a link from a diagram will now be a lot more responsive. We had an issue with how we loaded the data in, and we are completely loading it in a different way. So now your data will come in straight away and you'll feel like everything is happening as you actually click, and then it will load in the background afterwards. Those were the improvements. We'll now jump in and talk about bug fixes. Bug fixes, right here, right now. Images in the help sidebar will now work again. We had an issue with linking to the correct images on the server. That is now fixed. So now you can get the help right there on the sidebar whenever you need it. Good news for the APAC team. We can now remote wipe the Reader app from the APAC region as well. Positive things. The Reader search bar sidebar will now update the search results and count as expected. And the navigation arrows will now actually navigate between the search results. Yay! Filtering documents will now continue functioning even when the system encounters an invalid manual. So what this means is the filter functionality should no longer just stop and not work anymore. If it finds an invalid manual, it'll just continue. PDF file loading has been remarkably improved, and we're doing that by utilizing a lot of data caching, so we can make sure that the data that we need to have is already in the system. Also, we have improved the situations when an owner to a compliance requirement has been deleted. That way we avoid connecting the requirement requirement showing up as still being connected when you filter in assigned owners. So now it will actually seem like it's no longer connected to anything. Now we changed word wrapping a little bit as well. It can now be turned off in cell properties. So if you don't want to word wrap and you want it to push, it can also do that. And lastly, we improved security according to our pen test results. The pen test we get done in December. We still had a few things that we wanted to do, and that has been applied now. So now all of the pen test results are taken care of and security is up. Now for the Reader app. This version is 1.3.1. As you know, we try to release a new Reader app version every 2 months, and we are trying to stick to that schedule. So First off, we're gonna jump in and have a look at the improvements. When changing the brightness on the device, then the brightness slider on the Reader app will also adjust and follow whatever setting you have. So what this means is you can now control the brightness in the Reader app via your actual device. Also in About, we are now displaying a little bit more information, such as if you have internet connection, if push notifications on, and disk storage and things like that. In general, just data that you want to have available, you can now see in the About section as well. We upgraded dark mode a lot. Dark mode will now run a lot smoother, allowing for more or less the same experience as you have in light mode. Previously, it would be a little bit more sluggish. Also, the document lists have been redesigned, making it easier to distinguish between downloaded and not downloaded documents. There's a little bit more of a color difference, so you can easily see what is in my device and what do I still need to download. And lastly, switching to offline mode has been highly improved. The app will actually check the device connection, determining if there is connectivity. So it also knows, it doesn't just blindly go into offline, it knows if there's something in the background. Those were the improvements. Let's go on and have a look at the bug fixes. Reader app bug fixes. Links pointing to an external source will now function on iOS devices when they're managed by an MDM system. You couldn't do that before, now you can. So if you are running MDM on your iOS devices, rejoice! The Unread Document tab will sync as expected with the dashboard, correctly updating when the required documents have been read, meaning that these two views will actually show the same result, which is very positive. The content of manuals with an A4 wide layout will now show entirely in the Reader app. Before that, there was a little bit of an overlap gap on it, or it would overlay out into the side. That is now fixed, so you can now use A4 wide and see everything on the screen at the same time. Also, it's now possible to switch to light mode even if the device has been set to dark mode, meaning before it would be kind of locked in dark mode. That is no longer the case, so now you can flip up light mode again if you need it. The table of contents will show all the headings even if you had it open when downloading a new revision. Prior to that, if you open up and had the table of content on the side, downloaded a new revision, something was changed, then that table of content in your sidebar would not refresh and update, and now it does. Adding an external document to favorites no longer causes My Documents to load forever. We had an issue with that, and now you will actually have your personal documents to load up correctly. The alignment of the page header with the content of the document has been improved. Beforehand, the page header could be a little bit off, and now that is completely fixed. Linking to PDF or links in a PDF, when you click those, it will now open on the correct page, which is also very positive. You're taken to where you expect to go. And then besides that, we have done a lot of smaller improvements and fixes just to make the user's experience a lot smoother. Jump in, try the Reader app version 1.3.1. We hope you enjoy it. And last but not least, Josephine and I and the Trusty Web Manuals hoodie, we're done for today. Last thing I want to remind you is, if you're in the US region or anywhere else, remember that in May, we have our Go Digital in the States, in San Diego, and we hope to see you there. Have a good one.